Hey, Action Shelf listeners, before we jump into the show itself, we want to tell you about how you can get even more action in your life.
Mm.
That appeals to you,
More
listeners.
action. More action, you
More
say,
action, you
John.
say. Yes. If you go over to our Podbean patron page, that's patron.podbean.com/punchup. You can listen to Lisman and I watch, what's this? Good action movies.
Good action movies, you say?
That's right, a change of pace. We thought behind the paywall, let's give people something of quality. So
And give us something of quality.
I know, it's such a pleasure to do that. So twice a month, you and I will be doing commentary tracks that you can download for
Yes.
good action movies, all kinds of awesome stuff from a lot of our heroes like John Woo. And we've done stuff from the John Wick franchise and Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all the guys we never get to talk about on here.
Yeah,
So
stuff we legitimately love and love to share with you all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can listen to that as well as other cool exclusive content from the Punch Up Entertainment Network shows. Once again, the address for that is patron.podbean.com/punchup. And now, into the action.
The Action Show. The Action Show. The Action Show. The Action Show.
Welcome to the Action Shelf. The podcast celebrates the glory of B action movies. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Michael Isman.
And this week, Listman, we are condemned.
We are condemned to watch this mediocre film.
The condemned.
The condemned.
Or I guess as we should say, the condemned, brother, because WWE month rolls along here in January. Oh, yeah.
Now, is this movie the prequel to Recoil? This is where he learned how to fight from fighting?
From Fratton. Yeah. Oh, my God.
From
Yeah.
Fratton.
We've talked about the best, Listman, John Cena and Dwayne Johnson, but it's not the worst, but certainly not
No.
good. We have talked about in the spectrum of these movies. We don't hate Stone Cold Steve Austin.
No.
And I don't
We feel
think-
indifferent, I think.
And he is, I think we really came to like him when he was up against Seagal, and we were like, well, he's a lot better than Seagal. I mean,
Yes.
and I
One,
don't.
he's less of a despicable human being, but also he has a net neutral sort of effect on screen, where Seagal is like detrimental to any film he's in.
Yeah.
I just feel like
'Cause
Stone Cold
I
is just there, you know.
That's exact, and I think the Condemned, and this was the first big outing for him. Like and I love their thought of we've done, we've made The Rock a star, we've made John Cena a star. Next, Stone Cold Steve. Although as we talked about, the Marine was originally developed for him, which I would have been worse, and that movie's not great, but that movie would have been a lot.
No.
Because I do think he is nowhere close to the problem with this movie, Stone Cold.
No,
But
definitely not.
I agree
This-
with net neutral in I just don't find him very compelling either.
Yes, this guy is supposed to be the likable protagonist, I guess,
Yeah.
of this film. I think is the idea, but they even say in the film he's probably killed more people than anybody else on this island, and we're like, cool,
Well,
great.
because I do think the movie I kept thinking about while watching this, and there's a few because we'll talk about, but one of the movies I kept thinking about while watching this is Con Air, where you have everyone in the cast basically is a convicted criminal, but you have the one guy who's there for kind of the wrong reasons, who is a good guy. But Nicolas Cage is so much more likable than Stone Cold Steve
yes.
Austin, both the character and the performance in that movie.
Yes,
Because number one, that movie goes
definitely.
out of its way to establish that guy was kind of wronged by the system and shouldn't be there. Nicolas Cage in that, right?
Yeah, this movie doesn't really take those steps. You
No,
know?
it casts him as, I guess we can get into this now. It casts him as he's the only reason we're supposed to think he's good is he's killing for the US government.
Yes. He's not killing for pure sport.
Right. Yeah, it's like, but you're going like, yeah, it still doesn't make me like that he's killing people. You know, you go like, because like you think about like a Jason Bourne, right, who's a Black Ops operative, but then the plot is him turning against the people who are making him kill.
Yes.
Like here, the movie is going. The whole point of this character, and also the entirely unnecessary subplot about the FBI. Why is any of that? Every time they cut it, I'm going, why do we need any of this? Is just is just to go, this guy has done so much for us and we owe it to him. It's just like, I don't know.
But it doesn't really pay off, I guess. I mean, it kind of does. It like leads to the downfall of this game, but also Stone Cold could have just done that on his own.
Yeah, so they just kind of show up to pick him up at the end of the movie, really, more than anything.
Yes.
Like, the whole thing is really brought down by Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh, yeah, brother, he's got the... now, the thing about him, as I talked about, they all have the same voice, but he's the southern one, right? He's the guy.
Yeah, he's a little bit more southern than the other ones.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the Hulk's sort of similar, but you don't believe that the Hulkster's from like Texas or whatever.
Yeah, let's see. Where is this accent from? Let's look at Stone Cold Steve Austin here. He's right there, born in Victoria, Texas. You're right on the money about that there.
Oh,
he's got that. Yeah, hell yeah, brother. Yeah. But I do think about, like, the best thing I've ever seen Stone Cold Steve Austin in is The Expendables, where he's the main bad guy's henchman. You're like, I think we've talked about that with his movies before. He something about his face or his attitude or something, he isn't likable like Dwayne Johnson and John Cena are. He's not.
He doesn't have that extra level of charisma, you know.
Right. There is sort of that.
Where you're going, it the eyebrows? Is that what The Rock and John Cena have? Is eyebrow action?
I think eyebrow action.
Stone Cold's face is pretty like marble. You know what I mean? It's very set. It's not changing. It's not emoting. You know.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. He's not a bad actor, but he's a one-note actor for sure. He can just sort of be. I mean, there's a reason he's a great wrestler because he can go to that like, all right, pal, you and me in the ring right now. You know, that sort of thing. Which there's so much of his dialogue in this movie is just like, come on, motherfucker, let's go. You know. And by the way, this is our first one we've done that's a WWE movie that's rated R, man. Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Oh, yeah. This movie is hard R.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. We're going to get in here and we're gonna get real nasty on this one because this is a nasty little picture. This is a nasty movie. This is a nasty movie. There's no question.
Yes.
Because it's about nasty people. This movie, though, and I'll say this, and then we'll get to this movie, by the way, is rated R for pervasive, strong, brutal violence. Agreed. This movie does one of the cardinal sins of an action shelf movie, though, which is, I'm sorry, are you trying to comment on violence? Don't.
Yes.
WWE movies should not be commenting on violence.
No, when they're making Walking Tall or when they're making The Marine, it's so cartoony that you can kind of it's a little bit more palatable.
Yeah.
But because they're going the hard R and they're wrestling with themes that they don't have any sort of ability to comment on properly, this movie is a fucking slog. And I think the worst part about this movie is that it's competently made enough to where it's not fun to watch.
Yes.
It's just kind of boring and awful.
Agreed. This comes to us from writer-director Scott Wiper.
Who seems to be a WWE regular.
Oh, yeah. This is not the only movie of his from WWE Productions. He also wrote, and did he direct as well? Yeah, he wrote and directed the Marine 3 Homefront.
And 4.
Oh, and 4 is right, yeah.
Moving Target.
And he just, in 2020, made another movie called The Big Ugly that also has Vinnie Jones in it. And Vinnie Jones, not a WWE guy.
Nope.
But he also made The Cold Light of Day, which I think we've talked about doing, which is a pre-Superman Henry Cavill and Bruce Willis.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'll watch anything with Henry Cavill in it.
Love Henry Cavill. And this is one of those things where you go like, oh, Henry Cavill in an action shelf movie? Once again, I think, filmed before...
Sigourney Weaver's in this as well.
It's kind of a real movie.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this guy, once again, you look at this movie, too, The Condemned, this guy's not a bad director, per se.
No.
I do have a lot of problems with how the action is shot in this movie, but I don't know if that's him as much as the... This is a perfect... The fighting in this movie is... I don't need everything to be long, unbroken takes in a fight scene, but if you use cuts, I want to understand why you're using them. And a lot of this here is clearly like cut to a double doing something close in, cut back to a wide.
It's cutting around the actors not doing the stunts.
And that's where it's a problem, because you can effectively use cuts in fight scenes. We love long.
You can also effectively use stunt doubles as well.
Daredevil is still one of the greatest examples of literally doing both long takes and including stunt doubles, but finding ways to really smart. I mean, once again, I think Daredevil is a real high point in particularly American fight choreography. Jesus, some of the fighting in that is incredible. But here, so I like I said, I shudder to watch a movie he directed called A Better Way to Die that he's also the star of, this guy. So, yikes, I know, right? But it does also have Lou Diamond Phillips and Andre Braugher in it, though. So.
Oh, well, now I'm sold.
Yeah. Oh, we love Andre Braugher in particular, and we like Lou. Have we done Lou Diamond on here yet? I don't think we have.
I don't think so.
At this point, it's getting harder and harder to tell. And I can't believe, I think we did look this up and confirm, this is the first time we're talking about Vinnie Jones, which is crazy.
Yes.
Because he is...
Yeah, I was certain we had already done Vinnie Jones, but that turns out to not be true.
Vinnie Jones is a good actor. I mean,
he's been in some great films.
Yeah, I mean, he was a Guy Ritchie discovery, right? Former footballer, and then made his acting debut in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and then just kind of exploded from that. It's really interesting. People saw him in that, and then they immediately put him in Gone in 60 Seconds, and he's just sort of been in a bunch of stuff. And he does TV, he does big movies and action shelf movies. So he's interesting, but... I don't know that. Once again, I don't know that he's at fault for anything here. I will say the more movies that you watch with Vinnie Jones, the more you realize he kind of just has one mode. No
he's got
question.
The Vinnie Jones acting style.
No question, and that's
not much else.
That's why I don't like him as the Juggernaut, because it's like, well, now I'm just watching. You're just putting Vinnie Jones in a Juggernaut costume. He's not really playing the character of the Juggernaut.
No, he's being Vinnie Jones wearing a silly costume.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, that is not uncommon in the action sphere of these actors. I mean, we can talk about Schwarzenegger. Always plays Schwarzenegger.
Yes.
So, like I said, it is. Now, it's interesting because I do think something that's key about this movie that I think explains some of the tonal stuff we're talking about is this was a movie that was a script that was around and then got picked up by the WWE. So something tells me this was written to be maybe a little bit more serious of a movie, and then WWE gets involved, and some of that seriousness is still there, but now it really feels out of place.
It does, yeah.
Because this is written by Rob Hedden and Andrew Hedden, and then screenplay by Scott Weiper, who comes in and puts a polish on it. And when it wasn't a WWE movie, apparently they were talking to whoever was going to make this before, was talking to Stone Cold Steve Austin about playing the Vinnie Jones character.
I could see that.
Yeah,
I can see that.
And then when WWE then bought the script, they made him the hero, and that's a mistake.
Yeah,
that's a mistake.
That is a mistake
because he's just, I don't know. Although he would have been a more boring version of this villain, I do think.
True. Yeah. I mean,
Vinnie
I'd say
Jones,
get him out of here in general and get somebody else to play the part.
Because Vinnie Jones, I do think
keep Vinnie Jones.
Vinnie Jones is actually one of the good parts of this movie. I mean, it's a very cartoonish and dumb character, but there is a relish to how evil he is that makes him compelling in some capacity. I mean, everything I say about this movie is qualified, right? Like any positive thing, I'm going like by WWE standards in comparison to other stuff. Because this movie, man, the Condemned.
Did this movie come out in theaters?
It sure did.
Okay. Gotcha.
And that will lead me to this, Listman. How much do you think this movie cost to make?
It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, like visually, there's some money on the screen. I don't know, $20 million.
On the money, my friend. $20 million
hell yeah.
even.
Yes.
This thing cost $20 million. Worldwide gross 8.6.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think this was one of the last WWE theatrical releases.
That makes sense.
Now there is a straight to video sequel that they made to this though, so don't worry, you can watch more of The Condemned.
Does Stone Cold make reprise his role? As
he does not. It's
man?
Interesting. What's weird is Stone Cold kind of moves away from the WWE pretty quickly in the films. Like we've seen him he's in a lot of action shelf movies, but not many of them are produced by the WWE, which is interesting to me.
Yeah, probably the right choice, honestly.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd say I mean, the movies they're giving him not really doing much for him.
No, it's Randy Orton is the name of the guy who's another wrestler who they put in the and of course who's the villain in that? Eric Roberts. Had to be, right?
He had to be, right? Yeah, he's got to be somewhere.
I just wanted to see if this is actually the last. No, with the next week's movie comes out after this, and that was also theatrically released. But I think that's the end then.
But that's the return of John Cena.
That is the return of John Cena, and I think that is the final theatrically released.
If they can't get a movie with John Cena to work, then I don't think it's just not in the cards for theater releases.
Yeah, they end up attached to some movies that come out in theaters, but that's the last line. I mean, like WWE films, they talk because you can go to their Wikipedia and see all this stuff. They do produce a couple movies that are like real movies, but I think they're like vaguely involved or had the rights to the script or something, because like I've seen some of these and I'm going, WWE made Dead Man Down. That's like a noir with Colin Farrell. That's not like a WWE movie.
Nope.
No, so I don't know. You know, film stuff is weird. We know that about what rules about companies and producers get named on stuff. So, but yeah. I think next week's movie is the last major, and this is the first one they make with Lionsgate. Now I don't think we've talked about Lionsgate on here. Lionsgate is sort of an action shelf theater company. You know, they make genre stuff, and generally hardcore genre movie. You know, R-rated. Bloody action, or like Saw is one of their big franchises, horror stuff too. Horror and action is sort of their stuff, and so I see a lot of that. They kind of make higher quality action shelf movies, and that's very much what this is. Like, this is a total action shelf script that we're going to put some resources into.
So they kind of like supplanted Orion Film
a little bit, yeah,
this
like
kind of level of action.
Like they had
movie.
the Punisher film license for a long time. That's right up their alley. That kind of stuff.
Okay, gotcha.
You look at their stuff for the most part. When I do see a Lionsgate logo, I'm like, ooh, that's going to be kind of down and dirty, but still have some known people in it, and still have I mean, so yeah, I'm looking at. Well, jeez, of course. John Wick is their big franchise.
Oh yes, okay, gotcha.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
That makes
Where it's
sense.
like not bad stuff, but definitely Now You See Me. They make those movies. Those are a little bit more, but still, The Expendables is them though.
Now You See Me was such a. I can't believe they named the sequel "Now You See Me Too" and not "Now You Don't." Like,
Yep.
they literally said that is a different discussion, but it drives me up the wall.
I
don't
am
know.
right there with you on that, man. That is, and we'll see what happens when
It's
now
a
you,
perfect sequel setup.
and now they're making Now You See Me 3. So yeah, still not going to do it.
Yeah,
I closed the franchise with that.
that'd be great.
Yeah. Close the trilogy. The third one should be called Now You Don't. Let's get into this movie. Well, something else I know we want to talk about. We'll talk about it, I think, as we get into the movie itself here. Is the sort of the nature of these kinds of movies, which is so weird that this is like a borderline subgenre of film. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um
And the subgenre, well, it's a battle royale film, essentially. Right. Yeah, we should say this movie is about a bunch of criminals on death row who are being sent to an island to kill each other and have that filmed for, like, reality television, essentially.
Yeah. I do love the
although
way...
this is 2007, so they're like, the internet, ooh.
I was going to say,
very fun.
That's one of my favorite things in this movie is every time they go like, I don't understand. What network will air these murders? It's like, oh, none. We're doing it on the internet.
Have you heard of the internet? It's been around since the early 90s.
Like, yeah, this is a real interesting turning point in culture about the internet, right, in this movie, because it is sort of that thing where it's like, it's ubiquitous, but its full potential isn't yet realized. So there is sort of this thing about like the idea of like broadcasting something on the internet, streaming something is still kind of new, at least to the mainstream public that this movie is being advertised to. Which is pretty
now.
funny.
Where are the servers that this whole operation? You know, where are the like?
There's a lot of stuff.
And banks of servers.
There's a lot of stuff in this movie where you're going like, I'm sorry, how is any of this working? The way they're filming, because there's some lip service. I actually really like this actor who plays the tech guy, Rick Hoffman, who's he's a good character. He was on the show Suits, which I was a fan of. And I mean, he's a guy you've seen in a million things. Has a total nothing part in this movie, but he's the one guy there to go like, there are a couple lip service things about like blah 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 satellites and blah 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 drones and blah blah blah. Not drones. They're not even drones. They're cameras on wires.
Yes.
And this
is a pre-drone world.
But you are going like, they would not, even if you have all these cameras, they would not be able to capture all the stuff they're capturing.
Nope.
Yeah, so it is absolutely wild to me, the whole idea of this. But well, didn't we also see this in the second one of those Deadly Force movies or whatever? Deadliest. I'm trying to. Deadly Prey. Deadliest Prey. The second. Oh yes. The second one had this same thing where they were streaming the guy in the woods and stuff like that.
Yes. Completely forgot about that.
I just remembered that as we were talking about it. So that's sort of in the same vein. But yes, we open up on, we're in Belarus at a prison, and they're basically doing auditions for the show, right? Because they sick a bunch of other prisoners on this one guy and then film him beating them to death and going like, oh, he'd be good for the show.
Do they ever explain in this movie the connections they have to these other governments and how they would approve? One, how would they get these prisoners from these governments? And then two, how can you guarantee that the winner of this tournament gets to go free? Do all the world's governments approve of this freedom, or is
that's got to be limited in some capacity, right? Like, you are free as long as you're in a non-extradition country or something. Like, it's got to be a looking the other way thing more than it's they're actually free, right? Because that's the other thing too, is then this guy is responsible for whatever massacres they commit following this.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
because theoretically, the most violent of these criminals is the one who gets set free. So, I mean,
actually, we'll talk about that. For reasons I don't understand, he's rigging it so Vinnie Jones wins, which is like, you do not want that guy out on the. That guy is a monster. He's the worst of the bunch. But which I don't. Yeah, no. This is a movie that is really asking you not to think about the intricacies or details of this situation at all, because we also have this. The movie starts with this interview where this woman is going like, "How does any of this work?" And the movie is kind of, once again, like I like the whole loophole this guy is exploiting here is the titular condemned, which is, well, all these people are going to be executed, so what does it matter? That's the thing. I'm not taking anyone who wasn't going to die anyway, so it's fine.
But it isn't really, is it?
No, it's no. Well, of course not.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's my favorite thing about this movie is all the people working for this TV producer who are so on board up until they actually see somebody murdered, and they're like, "This is a terrible idea." It's like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, what did you like? I'm everybody who was like, "Ooh, this is a mistake," confused me because there's no reason why they shouldn't have set why they got this far without having a thought.
I had the same. I had the exact same thought watching it, where it's like they were all on board with this in theory until they actually witness a murder, and they're like, "Oh fuck, are we doing bad things? Is this a bad idea? Are
we the baddies?
Are we the baddies? Exactly." Now, there's a movie I want to recommend people watch instead of this. That's not, of course, Battle Royale is the thing which is a great movie that I highly recommend. It's a great and very disturbing movie, but unlike this movie, is designed to be disturbing. You know what I mean? Like it is It is total serious dark. It is not like a badass action movie. It is. I mean, it is that has cool action in it, but it is meant to unsettle you. But another movie that does this that captures the satire this wants to is a tiny little indie that I've been raving about since I saw it for years and years. It's a movie called Series 7: The Contenders. People need to see this movie. It is a world that posits it's a reality show where people are randomly picked in a lottery. They are given a gun and told you have to kill the other people who have been given guns. It's sort of more like The Running Man, but they're not convicted. And the thing is, the entire movie is found footage. We're watching the reality show, so you don't get any of this stuff that you're talking about. So it eschews all the like moral questions. You're going like, well, now I'm just watching it. I'm not and it's really cool. And then the thing is, if you win, then you just keep playing until somebody kills you. And it's really cool. Really cool micro budget movie that is actually infinitely more effective than this much more expensive movie and much more thought out in its satire. So anyway, find that movie and see it, because Series 7: The Contenders I think is a really, really good movie. This movie has the cardinal sin of these things. Like I said, it's such a huge problem for me where it's like watch all this in crazy violence, this badass, and then also feel bad that you're watching violence. And you're like, no.
Yes.
No movie.
Yes.
You don't get to do that.
Yeah.
We don't get to cheer Stone Cold Steve Austin and then be forced to think about whether or not we're enjoying bloodshed.
That's not. And that is the problem with, because the original Battle Royale film, they're all like kids, right? They're students.
They're Japanese school kids.
There's absolutely no way that it's like, it's just disturbing, and you just feel weird about it.
I would call it a horror film, probably, really, if you're thinking about it. It's
definitely.
It's a great movie, though. I like I said, can't recommend that enough. And it's an oft mentioned by a lot of filmmakers. We love Tarantino, Edgar Wright, guys like that.
What do you think it is about this genre because not only is this style of story, or not only is Battle Royale a thing in film, it has also infected the video game industry with with games like PUBG and Fortnite and,
Oh
and all
God,
that
yeah.
stuff. Like what do you think is compelling about it?
There is something inherently visceral about it, right? In the same way that we talked about, this is sort of the extrapolation of the Most Dangerous Game setup, right? There is
Yes.
It's combining both survival and fighting movie, which is two equally compelling things, right? And I think we're always fascinated by people pushed to how far will they go to survive. And then from there, you can take it in a number of directions, which I think is appealing. You can make it pure action. You can make it horror. You can make it satirical. So I do think similar to a lot of the stuff we see, like your Magnificent Seven type story or your Mysterious Stranger kind of movie that we've talked about, it's malleable. It's inherently interesting, and it's malleable.
Yes,
and I think it's
so you can do it and then have your own stamp of originality.
Yeah, it's an inherently visceral, building, right, or foundation, and then on top of that, you can kind of take it anywhere you want. But there is sort of a thing, and I get it because it is sort of like, well, what would be, I'm even thinking like, what would be my spin on this or whatever, right?
Right.
Because I've seen it, Mortal Kombat is this to a certain extent, really.
Yeah, in a way, it's a fighting tournament.
It's a fight. I mean, because even the fighting tournament is in this in some way, right? Too. I mean, a little bit. Enter the Dragon, things like that. One of the best run of Iron Fist is basically Mortal Kombat with Iron Fist, but it's from all the realms of the magic worlds and stuff in Marvel, and you're like, that's cool. There is something about that too. And the other thing I think is, it's similar to the Mission movie too, where you get these defined characters where you're like, he's this guy, she's that person, these are their skills. And I think particularly video game, that makes a lot of sense, where it is sort of like, and I think there's always that thing about, will guns beat swords? Will they, karate and stuff like that, right? I think that's the whole appeal of, like, I mean, we've spent a lot, you spent even more than I have, but we spent a lot of time playing Smash Bros, and that's that from just the video game side of, like, I want to see Pikachu fight Samus because that doesn't make sense, but it's fun. I mean, that's the thing. But it's that thing where it's like, we're gonna pluck all these things and drop them in and see what comes out. It's sort of getting into the comic book also mentality of, like, who would win, Superman or the Hulk? I think there is something about that, seeing unexpected I mean, that's all Fortnite has become. I've never played a second of Fortnite in my life, but just seeing it from the outside and hearing about all these things in here, we're going like, whoa, Batman's in it and Darth Vader's in it, and sort of that thing about, like, put all this stuff in there. So I do think that's also part of it too, is like, let's see
like spectacle a little bit.
And the matchup of unexpected things, because this movie does that to a certain extent. You've got Karate Guy, you've got whatever. I wish they had gone further, because I do like it when it's more obfuscated, like Mortal Kombat or something like that, where it's like, this movie would be so much more fun if it was more cartoonish. Like I said, I think this movie's biggest problem is, are you trying to be grim and gritty, or are you trying to be fun? And you really need to pick a lane, because it immediately makes you something so horrible will happen that you're like, I'm sorry, I felt bad that I enjoyed that action sequence before this. Like, Jesus Christ.
Exactly. They because they don't pick a lane, it is the most disturbing option. Like, they have picked the most disturbing
Am I
option.
supposed to think Vinnie Jones is a fun bad guy, or am I supposed to be legitimately unsettled by him? And I don't know.
They don't know. They don't know.
Sometimes he plays like a comic book supervillain. Sometimes he's very real in a terrifying manner. So
right, exactly.
It's a huge problem here. Tone is the biggest problem in this movie, and it's too long. This is one of the longest movies we've done on the show.
Way too long.
This thing is an hour 53. Now, we don't normally cover that. We did this time, and I do think you could honestly, this movie needed to excise anything not on the island. Really, I don't care.
Agreed.
Ditch all
don't
the
care
stuff
about
with the
the
FBI.
girlfriend.
The girlfriend is such a non-entity in the movie, and I think that's designed to make us, because Stone Cold's the only character who is given any sort of humanity in that way outside of it. And so I think that's them kind of trying to go like, yeah, see, not only is he a quote unquote good guy because he's a government operative, but also look, he has like a family.
But wouldn't it be more interesting if you didn't know?
Yeah.
You know, like he's behaving in a way makes him seem more moral. But what if that's not necessarily where he's coming from? You know what I mean?
Or the movie wants to do this thing where, and I wish they had leaned more into this, where you don't immediately know he's a good guy. You know, where sort of like you just meet a bunch of people. Well, yeah, I think you have two options. You either meet a bunch of people and one of them reveals themselves to be a hero. Or you do the Con Air thing where we start with him on the outside, establish that we like him. Like,
right, exactly.
Con Air is a very crazy movie, but when you see stuff like this, you go like, oh shit, but it's good. Like, it is thought out. Even as insane and silly as it is, the writers thought about things like, oh, you know, this is the basic beats of studio filmmaking, sort of classical stuff, where you go like, okay, he goes to jail. Why would he go to jail? Well, he killed a guy in a fight, but it was defending his pregnant wife. Oh, then the system sort of railroaded him because he had military training. Oh, now I feel I like this guy. I feel bad for this guy. So now when he's going up against the other criminals, he's our guy. This movie doesn't do that.
And because they're very intentional about what tone they're taking with the storytelling, then we're not confused when it switches back and forth between like silly, like violence, you know, comical violence, and truly horrific, dark shit.
Well, the other thing is that movie doesn't have anyone do anything truly horrific. They have people almost do things, and then Nicolas Cage stops them. Because you have Danny Trejo trying to rape somebody, and then Nicolas Cage beats the shit out of him, and you're like, good.
Right.
Here, Vinnie Jones straight up rapes somebody. Now, the movie, if anything, actually, this is kind of one of my problems, too, is the movie obfuscates that, and it's like, ooh, that makes it even worse. Honestly, if the rape had been more graphic, it would have had more impact. The movie is just kind of like, well, you know.
I mean, as much as I don't want to see a rape scene.
No, well, or what I would say is don't. My actual advice is just ditch any of that.
Don't put it in there. Yeah.
But if you're going to do it, sort of just implying it's happening over there is actually making it worse, because then I'm like, well, wait a minute. No.
And it also brings up, because this is one of the many points where the people for this TV producer is like, maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe this is more. It doesn't actually change anyone's opinion because they're like, no, I'll stick with it. We'll see what's happening.
Well, that's another problem with all the cuts back to the producer. It's always the same thing. I have a problem with this. Do you really? No, I'll just go back to my seat. And it just keeps happening.
And that'll happen 3 times. Yeah. And it's like, why are we seeing the exact same scene over and over again? Like, and nothing is changing.
None of them really do anything about it. You know what I mean? Like none of them really affect anything. The blonde woman is the only survivor of the people involved in it. But she doesn't actually do anything to stop it. She just goes, this is bad, you guys.
Yeah. But instead of like trying to sabotage it from
That's kind of what I was expecting.
She's just kind of openly criticizing in front of the producer, who's clearly unhinged.
Once the tech guy got on board with it being a bad idea, I thought they were going to like somehow screw the guy over. No. Tech guy will just be murdered, and blonde woman will just kind of stand around until Stone Cold saves her at the end.
Yes, exactly.
So it is just kind of all that, and that's why I'm going like, all that stuff we can just kind of push aside in our discussion of it. Throughout all of this, expect that we're cutting back to the control room as this producer guy is like, no, this is fine. The most disturbing thing is not the rape itself, but as it's happening, the blonde woman is going, this is terrible. We can't let this happen. The guy goes, she's a convicted murderer, i.e. she deserves to be raped in this guy's mind. Now, I know he's supposed to be the villain, but holy shit.
Yes. And again, that's the end of the discussion. So it's not even getting into the moral like problem with it. It's just
that
presenting
actually,
it and then abandoning it.
In a better script, that could have been an interesting turning point where it's like, well, they are all condemned to death, so if they murder each other, whatever. But it's like, well, now this woman's being raped. She's not condemned to that or torture or something like that, right? Where you're going like,
right.
And also just the fucking, once again, what point do you get out? The second they bring in husband and wife criminals, but only one of them can win, everybody was on board with that. Nobody brought up a thing with that where it's like, we're just going to also emotionally traumatize these people who what were they? They were murdered. They were some kind of Bonnie and Clyde or something.
Yes. So they both went around killing people, I guess.
But
again, their behavior didn't really give off the impression that they were killers.
That's what I was going to say. Then they're immediately pitiable and you feel bad for them. This is Manu Bennett who's back playing the husband here. He was one of the henchmen in the Marine. We got him back.
Oh, yeah, right.
As I said, he played Deathstroke on the CW DC shows. And I just want to look up what his nationality is because he's playing Paco in this, and I don't believe he's a Latin man.
That sounds right.
Let's see here.
Was he Greek?
I think he might be. Oh, he's Maori. Because he's from New Zealand. So no is the answer. He is not a Latin man, but he's not
from Mexico.
No, but he's doing this and. Oh boy! I mean, it's still crazy to me that 2007 is long enough ago that nobody raised an eyebrow at that. Now that would be you just wouldn't do it. You just wouldn't take the chance even.
No,
people would rip
not.
you apart. So, and this movie in general, because of course we also have. Oh man, the guy I so badly want to like martial arts guy, but they aren't giving you a character for him. But
no.
He
just does martial arts.
His initial introduction was cool when he took the sunglasses off of the guy, and I was like, "Oh, this could be the guy." He like does a backflip out of a helicopter. I'm going, "Okay," and then he never really does anything cool ever again. And immediately
he doesn't really have any lines.
No, because he just immediately joins up with Vinnie Jones for reasons I don't understand.
Yeah.
It's weird. So let's see here. Where are we in the? Yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin. They get because they want to get the guy at the beginning. The producer's going, I want an Arab on this group, so they send.
So they did get Stone Cold.
Devout Muslim Stone Cold Steve Austin. Little known fact. That would be wild. I would love that if I heard that about him. I'd be like, wow, how unexpected. He's a way more interesting guy than I would have thought.
Yeah.
No, they send Stone Cold in to get killed by the Arab guy to prove. There's the scene where they bring him in, and similar to what we see at the beginning, where they have the guy audition basically to fight. And of course, he just instantly kills this Arab guy because Stone Cold is that awesome.
Yes. Oh yeah.
What is his character's name? It's Conrad. Jack Conrad.
It's like Jack Conrad, but that's not his real name, right?
His real name is Jack something else.
It's like Jack Riley or Jack.
Yeah, it's similarly like nondescript American name. Still, yeah. Yes. Conrad's real Jack Conrad is really Jack Riley. Who could care? Oh my God. What's the difference?
And also, why have him have a fake name? Change his life. That's stupid.
That's bad spy work.
Yeah.
You don't watch an episode of Jack Ryan. He goes, now I'm Jack Simon. No.
No.
Jason Bourne is now
That's funny, is
Jason Bennett.
Torn.
Yeah, Jason Torn. It's me, Jason Torn. No one will ever know it's really Jason Bourne. But it is just like Jack Conrad, Jack Riley. What does it matter? But as soon as they start saying it's Jack Riley, it does that thing. Go ahead and push this on your bingo card. Everybody's just going, whoa, Jack Riley? Uh-oh. Because I feel like this is part of the genre a lot of the time, is the like, wait a minute, one of these people is actually awesome. Is either actually, they're usually, like this case, they're usually good, morally good, at least by the parameters of this, because as we talk about, he's still a professional murderer.
Yes.
But for the U.S. government, which in the world of WWE means it's all totally fine. Because the reason he's in jail is he was assassinating people down in South America.
I believe so, yeah.
And we're like, yay, because that's always gone super well. Okay, I have it here. Conrad is discovered to be a former Delta Force operative. We should start adding. We've talked about building a new bingo card, but a character having a past as a Navy SEAL or Delta Force soldier would definitely be one of them. Who was captured on a Black Ops mission to El Salvador after bombing a building controlled by drug dealers. Yeah, they tried it. That does make sense. They tried to go like, well, he was fighting the cartels, because in the world of geopolitical stuff, if it's like drug dealers, we're kind of cool with it. I think is sort of the attitude, right? Where it's sort of like, well, he wasn't destabilizing a government. He was taking out drug cartels, which are, once again, without getting into any kind of specifics, we can all generally agree are a bad thing objectively.
Right. Yeah.
So I
think that it would have been really interesting if they weren't trying to make him likable per se, but that he was there. Like, what if he was there to take this thing down? You know what I mean? Like they'd done previous cool. That would have been like cool. Previous quote unquote seasons of it, and so like the UN is like, this needs to fucking stop. Yeah. So they send somebody in who could be morally reprehensible, and that could be the morality of the film. Is just like, or at least, like, what's the difference between you and me? It's like, well, I mean, the difference is that I have the okay from the international community.
Or as you're saying, at least make him morally neutral in that sense, when it's like, well, I'm just here because this is against the law, and I am just serving society's objection to this. Would have been something.
Right, exactly.
Another movie that I highly recommend that's in this genre, that's a way better movie, is one that came out a couple years ago called The Hunt, that the Blumhouse made. That's really, really good. And I'll just point people towards it, because there's a lot of secrets in that movie. But the thing they do. They do the thing we're talking about, where when the movie starts, you do not know. You were just dropped into the battle royale situation, and you do not know. And it doesn't become apparent until like halfway through the movie who the hero of the movie is and why they are in this situation.
That's a really interesting idea.
Yeah, and I love that movie, because it starts, you're like, what the fuck's going on? And in fact, they mislead you. Go like, oh, okay, yeah, that guy's there. Oh fuck, he just got shot in the head. Okay, I don't know what's happening now. Really good. Exactly. Really, really.
And I think another interesting point about this subgenre is that the movies tend, and these kinds of stories tend to work if the point of the movie is not that humanity is inherently bad. You know what I mean? Like they're inherently violent. What actually works better, and I think that Squid Game does this really well, is it's not people, it's these larger established conglomerates or governments or corporations that are the problem.
That was something that sat wrong with me about this movie too, because you do have late in the game, that same reporter from the beginning of the movie goes, at first I wanted to blame this producer, but now I realize the problem is the people who are watching. I'm like, no, still the producer's the bad guy.
The producer's still the bad guy. Yeah,
because it's because I don't buy into this idea that people are just seeking violence wherever they can get it. It really is. It's being packaged. If anything, the presentation is what is numbing you to the violence. It is not that we're just all these savages. So I disagree with the thesis of this movie, and this movie also doesn't follow through on any of that thesis. I don't know what I meant to think by the end of the movie.
Yeah, because they abandon any sort of message or point, like any philosophical take that they're... Because that's not the reason you're here. The reason you're here is to see Stone Cold Steve Austin kill some bad guys.
Yeah, and that's the thing, where it's like, at the end of the movie, it doesn't matter. There is no gray area to have that conversation, because he is a purely heroic character who kills everyone who's bad.
Yes, exactly.
And it's all dealt with, and it's all over. this guy is killed, therefore there's no it's not a system. The Hunger Games, which I'm not a big fan of, but at least makes it is governmental that is evil.
Yes.
It is about taking down a government. Same thing with Battle Royale is about this is something that is sponsored by a government. Squid Game, a lot of those are about that. Here they are making it, no, it is just, and it does ask a lot of questions about like, how the fuck did this one guy put this together? Like the money it would take. As you're talking about earlier, the negotiations.
You need a private island.
Yeah.
Private island, but negotiating with various disparate like governments.
It would have been more interesting if they were breaking these people out even. And also, like they're doing it. It's not, no one's sponsoring. It's totally reckless. And the other thing is, once he starts broadcasting, how do you not see that governments all over the world would be all over you on this thing? Like, how is he surprised when the U.S. government is sending Navy SEALs? I think this movie does have a I don't even know it's not racist, but like it does have because it's interesting that the only reason they get an American is because he's in a foreign prison, right? It's basically going, well, no American government would negotiate with this guy. It's all in Belarus. So it's all those evil, corrupt foreign governments that signed off on this. So it does have sort of this
specifically mention, like, they're all convicted or like they're all condemned killers from third world prison. I believe the specific line.
Because one guy who once again, these characters' names could not matter. I believe it's the character I referred to as Dreads. Doesn't he say something about he's been condemned to death for drug dealing somewhere?
I think
it's him. It's one of them that has a whole thing about just because he had. So he's not even a killer. He was just on death row because of a country's backwards drug, laws.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, fuck, that's
Malaysia.
Awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is a thing.
But the movie doesn't care that that's a bad thing.
No.
In fact, his death is played as a joke.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I don't remember what he said, but he got betrayed by the other female contestant.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, bitch got me again. And it's
bitch
like,
got me again. Literally, yeah. His last
so
line
funny when
is,
the black guy dies.
Bitch got me again. Well, because he's that's right, because that's where he's talking about a woman had turned him in about the drugs, and so it's like, man, these bitches, great.
Yeah.
But I'm going, there's another halfway interesting thing there, and it's so interesting that we're talking about this, of course, in having just dealt with the Brittany Griner situation in Russia, which was very much about a needlessly harsh drug sentence for a foreign person in a backwards ass country like Russia. So really, I also love. I just see him here in the cast list here. This guy Nathan Jones, who is basically just a bigger Stone Cold Steve Austin, so that Stone Cold Steve Austin can fight him. The guy's 6'10" is listed on his IMDb. He's
Jesus
fucking huge.
Christ.
And he does have a whole career of playing henchmen in stuff. We would know him best from Mad Max Fury Road. He's like the big guy. Yeah, he's the big guy who's like one of the main henchmen to a Morton Joe in that. He's in a lot of that movie.
Yeah. And not a lot of lines in this movie. I don't think he even says a single thing.
No, I just love the idea. Oh, he's in Fearless. I didn't know that. I love that, the Jet Li movie. He fights Jet Li in Fearless. That's a cool movie.
That is a cool movie.
Yeah. But that's a good fight too, right? Big guy, little guy. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
This month on our Patreon, we're also talking about the Expendables movies. And we'll talk. I'm sure that's already out now, so you can hear us talk about the Dolph Lundgren Jet Li fight in that movie, which is very much big guy, little guy fight, and it's awesome. There's basically just here to be like he because when they go to him in the prison at the beginning of the movie, he's the first guy we see recruited. I'm going, what do they need another bald, burly white guy for?
That's the thing when they're like, oh, we got to slot somebody in here. Let's get Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's like, well, you already have the big bald white guy, so I don't know why we need
the
second
producer
one.
flips out because Stone Cold Steve Austin is American. He's like, "Oh, I never thought we'd get an American. We got to have an American in here then." That's right, brother. It doesn't get more American than Texas-born Stone Cold. But you do get the scene where they face off, where he's kind of like crouching this guy, and Stone Cold goes, "What, are we gonna have a prom here?" And then the guy stands up, and he does hit him with this one-liner: "Oh, we have a big fucking problem." And I do think
big.
I think he might have the best death in the movie, because the whole movie,
Yeah,
of
because
course,
everybody just kind of blows up.
yes, but he blows up while falling off a cliff,
Yes,
which is pretty great.
Yes,
That's pretty great.
that is yes.
Because we didn't talk about this. The whole thing is they've been put on this island for 30 hours. They've been put on the island for 30 hours, and everyone's wearing basically like an ankle monitor. And this is very like the ankle monitor thing. I'm going like, okay, this is Escape from New York. This is Suicide Squad. This is, this has been done to death.
Yeah.
I wanted them to come up with something new, but they just why would I expect that from this movie? But it is just kind of going like, of course, lazy. Yeah, they have these ankle monitors that track them where they're going and have an explosive device in them that they can, if they try to tamper with it, it'll blow up. They can also just kill themselves or kill other people by pulling a pin on it. It's basically like a grenade.
Yeah.
Which I did not. I don't know why. Once again, the lazy approach. That is how most people die in this movie, which is pretty lame.
Yep. It's so lame.
Because one of the things a battle royale movie does give you is a litany of ways to kill people. You're gonna have most of these people die, so come up with ways to kill them. The Suicide Squad is kind of
if we want to entertain Bruce winning, we need to show different creative ways.
Bruce did not see this movie, but I think Bruce would have still dug this movie.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, I wish I had a Bruce winning review for this movie, because he would have been 2 thumbs up for the exploding people.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that Stone Cold Steve Austin pulls the pin on this guy's ankle monitor and throws him off a cliff, so he explodes as he's falling, which I did enjoy. That kill was pretty good, and I do think, I don't know that anybody else is going to beat that kill, because everybody else
dies the same way.
Yeah, everybody else is pretty lame. Well, except for Vinnie Jones, who's the big main bad guy, and he just gets shot a bunch of times.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Which, I mean, I guess kind of, well, we'll talk about it. I guess structurally is not terrible. But let's talk about how they're put on the island. So everybody is flown out to the island in helicopters. They're given, like, mouth guard, because they're all shackled, right? Their arms and legs are shackled. And they're given these, like, bite guard sort of things with the keys to their chains on them and then thrown in the ocean.
Yes.
So wouldn't most
But
people...
not all of them.
Not all of them. We have one guy fall out. I do like that the first guy just gets impaled due to an incident. That was also a pretty good death.
Yes, yeah, and that was very stupid. I'm like, God damn! Like, can we be a little bit more careful about where we're dropping these people?
Yeah, that scene was close to the tone of what I wanted. Where the producer's like, God damn it, like the idea that that's like a nuisance. That I'm going like, okay, there's the tone, movie. Pick that tone.
Right, exactly.
Once again, if they should have just made everybody involved in the TV thing just evil. You know what I mean? Like, like just make, because once again, just make the system evil then. And so if everybody was blasé about the death, then their point would be clearer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a really interesting concept of exploring. I read a paper called "The Banality of Evil," which is a really interesting sort of dive into like the bureaucratic people in the Nazi regime.
Oh yeah,
and like how they can just be normal people doing a desk job, but are also responsible for truly horrific crimes. And like that dichotomy could be really interesting.
That's often really more impactful in movies than like cackling madmen and stuff like that. Sometimes
exactly, people who act and behave, in ways that we do, normal people. That's kind of more terrifying.
Totally. So you have Stone Cold Steve Austin, of course, doesn't get a key because why does he elbow this guy in the face?
I don't know. Like
the best situation, man, especially if you're a former Delta Force top government agent or whatever, wouldn't you think the best response would be to just get on the island, get unshackled, and then readdress from there?
Yeah.
Instead, he's got to be shitty about it. And I guess, but we're supposed to be like, oh yeah, get him.
But he's also not the only person who does this. So it's also just like, okay, so he's just behaving like everybody else, so it's not really standing out.
Which, once again, that would have been interesting.
See the Japanese man take the sunglasses, which was actually cool, and then backflip out.
That was cool. Backflip out while flipping a double bird.
Yeah.
And that's the guy. I never got his name, so I just called him Shades for the rest of the movie. Shades, Dreads, these are my characters.
Dreads, Vinny Jones.
Yeah, I did. All of my notes just say Vinny. I think his name is McStarley.
Who cares?
Who could possibly care? Or bigger, as I said, this guy is bigger Steve Austin. For what little he's in the movie. I actually thought he was one of the... Yeah. Oh shit, he's done some good... I said he was in Fearless. I see also he's in The Protector with Tony Jaa.
Oh.
That's a kick-ass movie.
Oh, he is. Yeah, he's the fucking big dude in that movie.
And he was just in Mortal Kombat. This guy, I like this guy. He's kind of the big guy in a lot of like fight movies and stuff like that. So I like this guy. His first screen appearance is in Jackie Chan's First Strike.
Dope.
Nice.
Okay.
I like this guy. Works a lot in Hong Kong. That's cool, man.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and you wouldn't know it because he does nothing in this movie. I mean, I guess that scene at the beginning when he's fighting all the guys in the prison was kind of cool.
Yeah, kind of, but
yeah, but I've
seen better versions of that scene in other movies. So
maybe with this guy, even if you're watching like The Protector and stuff.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just glad to know he was in this, but then does like Fury Road after this, and you're like, yeah, because he does have presence. He's cool. Let's see. That's the thing. Immediately, Paco is the guy who's like super nice and goes, "Here, man. You take the keys and unlock yourself." And I do like that every time there's an interaction between two of the condemned and they just like separate, you just cut back to the producer going, "Why didn't they murder each other? Oh, man!"
They're so stupid. There's like, they can't conceive of the fact that people will interact with each other like human beings or try to team up. Because that's more advantageous. They just want people to mindlessly kill each other. Because
they're all criminals. He doesn't go after... It's not the Suicide Squad thing of, I've found them, the worst of the worst that humanity has to offer. Like, these are just people in situations. And as we said, Paco is the character I feel the most bad for, because so many horrible things happen to him, and we never actually see him do anything evil. At all. It's all referred to in the past. But all he cares about is getting his wife out of here and escaping, right? And he will see his wife raped in front of him. He will have his knee broken.
And then murdered.
And then he's beaten almost to death before he is lit on fire and killed.
And it's just like, what movie, what do you want me to feel here? Like what are you doing? And actually, what are you trying to do to me?
When he gets burned to death, they also establish he's the only person who like befriends Stone Cold, because when Vinnie Jones burns him to death, he's like, "All right, that's it, pal. It's game on now." I think I have it. He just goes, "Okay, game on." And you're just like, wait a minute, did we like Paco? I can't tell.
And also, are we supposed to be like, yeah, get him, Stone Cold?
The way the movie, they do the push and the music goes dun 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 dun, and he's like, game on. And I think we are supposed to be the divorced dad. They're supposed to raise that. By the way, I didn't catch any Miller in this one, but I didn't catch any beer. Well, I don't know. In that bar, was there a Miller sign or something?
Could have been.
And there may have been.
I really wasn't paying attention.
I assume there has to be. But yeah, you were supposed to raise your MGD and be like, "Fuck yeah, Stone Cold."
Instead of being like, "Oof, God, this is awful."
Yeah, I just went, okay. Because I will say most of the one-liners here are pretty. There are lots of the other one is when he fights Shades, when Stone Cold fights the karate guy. he does give him this is very WWE like macho stuff. He goes, "Let's go, sweetheart." It's just like, oh man, to be even remotely effeminate is the worst thing imaginable to these people. Okay, sweetheart. Yeah. So yeah.
And again, you're supposed to be like, hell yeah, when he says that, as opposed to I'm currently watching Peacemaker, and there's a part where Peacemaker is trying to shit talk. I don't know the name of the character, but the green suited.
It's Judo Master.
Yeah, Judo Master. Very similar kind of digs, but then you're also supposed to be like, well, yeah, but you got beat up by this guy, so like that Peacemaker's in the wrong.
That show and all of James Gunn's work is so the opposite of WWE because it's nothing but poking fun at machismo, right? It's always taking that alpha male mentality and going, that is stupid, that is a dumb way to be. And that is,
and you're a buffoon if you behave that way,
right? That is one of the things I love about James Gunn, because he's one of us. He's like a fucking little nerd guy, and he's going guys who act like that are dicks. They're not cool. And that show is about a guy learning to not be like that. That's kind of the point of Peacemaker's journey. We're all over the place here because this movie's kind of, it doesn't really matter. I
just don't want to talk about it. This movie.
So occasionally the movie just drops supplies on people, like hunting knives and and it's always Vinnie Jones.
A compound bow. Yeah. So why Vinnie Jones? Like what about Vinnie Jones?
So one of the things that is, we see it a few times. Vinnie Jones always gets the supply drops. And then eventually somebody does point out to the producer, oh my God, you want this guy to win. And his response is basically, he makes great television?
That is his response, yes.
Okay.
And then he's also like, all media is manufactured. I'm just doing what they're doing, but better.
Which is true. Because that's always, there's the thing about reality TV is not real. And there, once again, it's like, okay, movie, you're almost onto an idea there,
You're so close.
But people are really dying. So then it kind of, that's sort of thing where I'm going like, if that's true, then these people shouldn't really be dead.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing where it's like the movie, you want to have it both ways. That's why I'm saying, like, I lean towards the ones that are more overtly satirical. And I actually think, as silly an 80s action movie it is, The Running Man actually has a lot more satire in it than this. It's pretty goofy, but it's also pretty pointed.
Well, that's the beauty of satire. You can have that like sort of sillier tone, but also pointing or poking
oftentimes
holes in various things.
And in fact, oftentimes the satire, the sharper edges of it are made more palatable by making it sillier. So that's sort of the thing that doesn't. I just don't. Here's the other thing: I can't believe WWE didn't have everyone be played by a wrestler in this. Wouldn't this have been every one of these people?
Yeah, that would have made more sense in a way.
That would have been,
and I think it'd make the movie sillier in general.
Yeah, if this was just the WWE SmackDown of movies, and I think would have actually maybe done better for the box office, because I don't think this movie. I can't imagine if you like Walking Tall and The Marine. I can understand if you're a fan of the WWE going to see those movies. This movie is a little, once again, that R rating I think hurts because now the kids can't go. And it's a little too grim and unpleasant to be enjoyable in that SmackDown sort of way.
Yes, because, I mean, 13-year-olds and 45-year-olds are sort of the demographic they're looking for here.
And this movie...
or at least WWE in general.
But
yeah, this movie cuts off half of their demographic.
It cuts off half of their
and basically dooms it to failure.
Yeah, and it's a little too long. It's a little too dark. And I just think it doesn't have the... This is not nearly as fun as The Marine or Walking Tall.
No.
It's in fact, not at all. It's almost like daring you not to have fun. It's like, yeah, that's right, folks.
Yes.
You're not going to like this at all.
But not a fully intentional way, because there are movies that are disturbing, but lean into it in a way that I don't know. there are movies that are very disturbing that are still very like watchable, I suppose.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
If you're into that kind of inclination. But this movie, because this movie is wishy-washy about what tone, then you just don't you can't settle on anything, and so it is just it's just miserable. A miserable experience.
it just doesn't work. That's what we're talking about. Like it just across the board does not work. It's really and it's one of those movies where I'm going like, guys, how do you not see how much this isn't working? And every time the music across the board is just like da 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 da. The Condemned.
God, the soundtrack is terrible, John. There is a track in this song where I think one of the instrumentation, like part of the instrumentation, is like breathing.
Yes,
like heavy breathing, and it
definitely is.
It's weird and it's not good and it's distracting. Honestly, I was not paying attention to that.
Yeah,
it was so distracting.
Yeah, it's bad. And also. To cap it all off, I just thought, of course, that the movie ends with a Nickelback song. I'm just like, of course, this is the Nickelback of movies. I'm surprised this doesn't have an entire soundtrack of original songs by Nickelback.
I want that on the movie poster. This is the Nickelback of movies.
Please, whatever new Blu-ray or 4K release of this, put a pull quote: "The Nickelback of movies, the action shelf."
Yes.
You know what? Because we mean we mean it as a slam, but it would sell to the audience that would want to see that.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
And that Nickelback song, I got to look at the lyrics here because the lyrics are the first lyric is "Prison gates won't open up for me." That's right. The chorus is "Show me what it's like to be the last one standing." Because that's
I have to let me just say something to our audience.
Yeah.
No, Nickelback is not on the show. I know it sounded like Nickelback was here, making a guess.
Remember that? I mean, when we were like in middle school, every fucking band had that sound. That was the Creed, Nickelback. System of a Down kind of had that. Remember
a little bit, yeah. Soundgarden.
Soundgarden.
Bit. Obviously,
Saliva. Remember Saliva?
Bush.
You know? 100. Gavin Rossdale definitely has that sound. Yeah. And they're all just doing bad Eddie Vedder, right? Like that's the thing. I feel like
I think I like Soundgarden more than
I agree. Audio Slave. Also,
Audio Slave is better.
Slave,
yeah.
It's interesting, but it's just like, Nickelback was the ultimate like, guy who sings like this.
We're there.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
The buzz ballads.
Prison's gates won't open up for me. Then the second thing is heaven's gates won't open up for me. With these broken wings, I'm falling. It's so bro deepness though, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm a tortured man, but I'm a badass too.
It's interesting they bring up Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate already existed at this point, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird poll.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's weird.
But I just as soon as the song started, I'm going like, oh. I love it on two fronts because it's Nickelback, which is perfect for the time of this movie, and two, the lyrics are so on the nose that they're like perfect. Last one standing. This is great, man. Oh,
and I don't know Nickelback that well, but the guitar riff started, and I'm like, this is Nickelback. I know because all their songs kind of sound the same.
They have that AC/DC thing, and I don't hate Nickelback. But it is they are just in the same way I don't hate AC/DC, but you're just like objectively this isn't good, you guys. Like it's sort of that thing where it's like
it's just the same song you've been well, because
is it any different?
30 years.
Is this song any different from "And they say that a hero can save us"? You know, and I had the fucking Spider-Man soundtrack. I had that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so did I.
Yeah. I had all of those. I mean, that was the thing where it was like I had Spider-Man the album. I had Daredevil the album that had the Evanescence songs.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, because the Evanescence was sort of the it's the same music, but it had a female voice, but it's the same kind of songs. You know?
It is. I think Amy Lee is a better.
Oh,
That's
agreed.
her name, right?
Yeah, Amy Lee
is
yeah.
a better singer than
no, and
the
that's
dude from Nickelback.
That's the thing. It's the same song, but her voice is better. Therefore, it's more interesting.
Yes.
And when she also did, she also
I
did the
do
song.
love Evanescence.
I do
have
too,
a deep
actually.
fondness for Evanescence. Yeah.
Bring me to life, and it's just Jennifer Garner throwing sighs in the Daredevil movie. She also did the song for the Tom Jane Punisher movie.
Yeah,
I'm
that sounds right.
broken, because it's all about how broken Frank Castle is. That was like the thing. You had to have a band do your superhero song. In that era, it's just so weird.
It's good that that's no longer a thing, but there's something sad about not.
I do kind of miss movie title songs. Like, that's just not because soundtracks don't matter. You do get guys like Gunn or somebody like that who put cool soundtracks out. But I remember
but
when
it's not like they're getting a band to write a song. For the movie,
the one every once in a while it happens, and you do get the David Ayer Suicide Squad had a song by, I can't remember who it was, but there was a Suicide Squad song for that movie, and it was, this is what people tuned in for. This is how much we don't want to talk about the Condemn. 21 Pilots did a song called Heathens that was actually for the Suicide Squad movie.
Okay.
And you're going, and I remember going like, wow, what a throwback that like somebody wrote a movie song. Because like, yeah, the idea of like Huey Lewis doing Power of Love for Back to the Future, I miss that.
Right, exactly.
I love that. Every once in a while you'll see somebody do it. But when it,
I guess James Bond still does that.
James Bond is still, but that carries over. Like that's like grandfathered in, because it was like a big deal. I like that Billie Eilish "No Time to Die" song. It was good. And having Hans Zimmer, that's also cool because they work with the composer. So having Hans Zimmer write the music so it plays into the score of the movie too is always cool. I mean, Bond is always that weird relic because it's also one of the few franchises that still does an opening title sequence and has a theme song. It's all just like, well, we're still just doing things the way they were done in the 60s, you know?
Yeah,
which is great.
It's fun.
And I would never want them to change that. I hate opening title sequences in movies. I think they're a waste of time. But if they ever took one out of a Bond, I'd be furious.
Yes,
it has to be.
It's part of the experience.
It is. It is indeed. Yeah. But yeah, now they just do the thing now where they'll just throw a cool pop song on a movie.
Yes.
You know, and you're like
a song that's already successful.
Yeah, because like I love Foo Fighters, but like, does their song "Walk" have anything to do with Thor? But it's at the end of Thor. You know, you're like, oh, kind of. He's learning to be his hero again. He's sure. You're going like tangentially, but it is just kind of like that was just a hit rock song, and we put it in this big movie. That was the case here. I think. I mean, I have no idea. I think "Saving Me" was maybe popular. I don't know. Look, we've never exactly had our finger on the pulse when it comes to music. To be fair.
True. But I would argue that neither did back.
Nor the WWE for that matter. It's all
exactly.
Actually, Nickelback is a perfect divorced dad rock band.
Definitely. Oh yeah.
It's all because it's loud. It's all like attitude, right? It's like the lyrics don't matter, but it's all just like. Well,
it's part of that Gen X angst. You know what I mean? And maybe that's just because you're positioned as.
Yeah.
So like the generation before us is. You know, the angsty, angry, like
but I can appreciate the guys who started that. Your Pearl Jams, your Nirvanas, your Smashing Pumpkins.
Nirvana. Oh yeah.
By the way, one of the best uses of any song this last year.
Oh, I know what you're gonna say.
Is the Nirvana song that's in Batman.
Yes. Well, because that also influenced the performance that
it influenced the performance.
Pattinson did.
It influenced the performance. It was what. Reeves was listening to as he wrote it, and he talked about it's what he imagined Bruce Wayne would listen to, and so it's that's a good use of it. And that song,
I love that song.
That song is a great song, and it does perfectly fit the vibe of Batman and that Batman. Particularly. But look, If you let me, I'll go on all day about what a perfect movie Matt Reeves' The Batman is, but that's just me.
But is it better than Seal's "Kiss from a Rose"?
That is a movie song. That was from the Batman
Yes.
Forever soundtrack, and yet it has nothing to do with. And then you have the Smashing Pumpkins Batman and Robin song, which is better than the Batman movie itself.
Oh, it's so good. And then it got reused in
Watchmen, yeah.
that song.
That song, yeah.
love-
That we've
It's
talked
so
about. The trailer for the Watchmen movie is one of the best superhero movies.
Yes.
That
It's
I don't hate the
leaps
Watchmen.
and bounds better than the movie.
I don't hate that Watchmen movie, but that trailer, I just remember being like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gives me. I still watch the trailer, and it gives me chills.
It's great. And if you recall the oh my god, the actual song in the end credits of that movie, do you remember what it is in the Watchmen movie?
I don't remember. No,
It's My Chemical Romance covering Desolation Row.
yeesh.
That was the big track from that movie, and you're like,
That's
"Oh
not my.
no,
Yeah,
Desolation
that's not
Row."
I want to throw shade on My Chemical Romance.
No.
It's just not my genre. So
No, and I don't want to throw shade at them, but them covering a Bob Dylan song, I don't want to hear.
well, I mean, everybody's covered Bob Dylan. I think people cover Bob Dylan.
It's just weird that movie starts with an actual Bob Dylan song.
And actually,
There's one of the other best superhero movies is the opening title sequence of Watchmen, where they just do the history of superheroes. Similar to just the opening title sequence of X-Men Origins Wolverine is the best Wolverine movie.
yes,
with just them
'cause
fighting across
that's the actual comic.
Yeah, and then you're like, wait a minute. I remember sitting in the theater and going, wait, well, that was the movie I wanted to see. What happened?
We just saw the movie. Why did the whole movie just happen in 5 minutes?
Yeah, what could possibly happen now? The answer, nothing good. Truly, I despise that movie. But that's not an unusual opinion. Can we talk about guys diving?
Condemned.
Yeah, can we talk about guys diving off waterfalls? Because this movie loves that shot.
It sure does.
It has both Vinnie Jones.
It saw The Fugitive, and it was like, we could do that, but less impressive.
We talk about The Fugitive a lot on this show because number one, it's a near perfect movie, and
Great
two,
movie.
it is so oft ripped off. It is one of the most. It is. I think because not in structure like Die Hard and stuff like that, but its action set pieces are so ripped off. And it's interesting because we did Code of Silence, which is also Andrew Davis, and has that big dramatic move where Chuck jumps off of the train. That's like a thing Andrew Davis is good at, are those big jump kind of.
Yeah.
And these aren't bad, but it is like that Stone Cold Steve Austin stunt guy leaping into water.
Yeah.
It certainly lacks the epic scope.
High.
Yeah, it really lacks that epic scope of Harrison Ford taking that dive, which is, like one of the most iconic moments in cinema, probably.
Yeah.
Because when people say The Fugitive, the first thing you think about is that scene, right? Like,
is the waterfall scene.
Yeah, I didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
Yeah.
There's a Texan I'd rather see in any movie than Stone Cold Steve Austin is Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes.
Yeah, believe it or not, once again, bold, hot takes. Tommy Lee Jones, better actor than Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oof, man, we're gonna get so much hate mail.
I'll recommend this because I think it's kind of a hidden gem. I watched The Hunted again the other night with Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro. They shot it here.
That movie.
That movie's really good. I watched it again. They shot that here in Portland. That movie's awesome.
Yeah.
That movie is Rambo
great.
if Rambo was the bad guy.
Yes, exactly.
It's that where it is like, no, he really has gone insane and he's just slaughtering people, and Tommy Lee Jones has to track him down. Good movie, man.
Yeah.
Good, solid action.
They have to make their own knives and have a knife fight at the end. And great.
Tommy Lee Jones making a knife out of just like things he finds around him is one of the coolest things. I could have watched a whole movie of that, of him just going, well, I'm going to chip this shale down and then wrap twine around. I'm just going like, dude, this is so cool.
It does kind of feel like a samurai film.
It does.
A little bit. Like
and
the way they revere their knives.
The way they revere their knives, and then the whole thing about like, I taught him how to kill, I have to be the one to stop him. And nobody can understand him except me. Man, Tommy Lee Jones had a good run of like action thrillers in the early to mid 2000s that I could say you could watch any of them. Your Double Jeopardies, your Rules of Engagements, all of those I like. All right. All that to say is those are all more fun to watch than this, which is just. I mean, once again, the overwhelming feeling I have is this movie is not fun.
Yes,
it is. It is going like, nope, you will not have fun watching this.
You will not have fun, but you also will not be thinking about anything interesting. Other than thinking about other that are bad. But it's not. Oh yeah, it's not creating thought. Well, interesting moral quandary.
No. That's the thing. It's sort of like if you're not going to be silly, then you have to be interesting, and your movie's not interesting. And that's where that Tommy Lee Jones movie is. Actually, that's an interesting.
Yes.
We brought up The Hunted, but that is a movie that has philosophical things to say about violence.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
This movie has nothing.
We see a lot of movies that are just doing previous movies.
Yeah.
So especially on the action shelf, and we've talked a little bit about this, but because this movie is doing Battle Royale, but then also not adding in anything interesting on top of it, it does just make the whole thing feel unnecessary exercise. You know,
and the fact that
it's different because the WWE made it, and that's what makes it different.
But I wish it had been more WWE. Nobody gets body slammed or anything in it. That would have been more fun. Because here's a perfect example: the scene where he does confront the karate guy, Shades. His name is Psycho, apparently.
Sure.
Yeah. By the way, Psycho. Or no, sorry, Saiga.
Okay.
Saiga. That makes more sense than Psycho.
Yes.
But his name could have. I can't believe. Here's the thing: you were willing to go with that, and I was too, because that seems like something this movie would have done. His name named Psycho. But they have this whole, SmackDown. They set up this whole thing where it's like it's going to be his karate versus Stone Cold Steve, and then Stone Cold Steve Austin just guts him with a knife, and you're like,
immediately.
Oh, well,
okay, well.
And it's all setting up what's going to be the big showdown between him and Vinnie Jones, and you're kind of like, I'm not really excited to see those two fight each other.
No, I'm just excited for them at that point.
But even that gets kind of undone because they're throwing down, and then the supply drop comes in, and Vinnie Jones gets a shotgun, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the introduction of guns into this movie is like a death knell of any excitement that this movie had going.
Going back to Battle Royale, one of the coolest things in Battle Royale, if you remember, everybody is given a weapon, but it is not known what it is, and so some people get a gun, and some people get I'm trying to think of like a I don't know, like a bat, or I mean, the bat would even be good. But some people get legitimately shitty weapons.
Yes, yeah.
And it's cool. It's one of the cool things in that movie is you're randomly handed something and you don't know what it is, and
yeah.
And that's a cool idea.
We're led to believe in this movie. This is the first time. That's right.
Yes, yeah. This is not an ongoing thing. This is the first time that this guy's done this.
I think it's more interesting if it's been going on for a while.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? I think that's a more interesting
And actually,
idea.
That's the case in almost every other version of this type of story I can think of.
Right, exactly.
Almost. Yeah, I can't think of another. Like Running Man, it's been going on for a long time. That movie, Series 7, The Contenders, is called that because it's the 7th season of the show, The Contenders. Exactly. That sort of thing. Yeah, Hunger Games. Yeah, they all are like that. Because now they're making the Hunger Games prequel about how the Hunger Games was created. Why?
I don't care.
Please don't. But yeah, they want to do that now. The first Hunger Games.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, whatever, man. So yeah, they throw down. Let's see here. What is it? Oh, I mean, yeah. Then once I do love they go like, oh, we in the background of this movie, the FBI apparently is gone because they just come in and they go, yeah, we tracked down the island, we figured out where it was, and we're sending Navy SEALs in.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they get word about that, the producer's just gonna go like, I have to get something out of my car, and he's gonna get in his helicopter and fly away.
It's literally the Simpsons bit. It's like, I gotta go. I don't think he's coming back.
I don't think he's coming back. It's exactly that, because he's like, okay. He goes, nobody panic, and he's just like, ready my helicopter. I'm taking no one with me. And because the tech guy finally confronts and goes, "Didn't you say when we started this you'd handle all the like legality of it and stuff, and if anybody got in trouble you'd have our back?" And then he just has that guy murdered. The tech guy just gets his throat cut by the head of security here. Oh, Vinnie Jones.
I also like that they're on the Death Island. Like they're not in a third
that
location.
Makes no sense to me. The idea that all of the fighting is happening, as they say, on the other side of the island. That is insane. I mean, you know what I would have done is had them out in like a boat or something like that, like they're on a big ship. And then you could still have Stone Cold and Vinnie Jones, swim out to it or whatever and have their fight there. But it is like, because they're talking about like, oh, wait a minute, according to these trackings, the Stone Cold Steve Austin is coming here.
Why isn't that everybody's decision at the beginning? Look, they're on the same island. We could rush them and kill
Here's
all of them.
Here's the other thing is,
all of us get to survive.
Do they not have control over the explosives? Because couldn't they just blow everybody up?
Yeah, you'd think.
It doesn't, because that's the thing in Suicide Squad is Amanda Waller has her finger on the button. So if you try to kill her, she'll just kill you. Or if you abandon the mission, she can just activate the bomb.
Yeah, I don't know. Like as soon as Stone Cold went off the grid or whatever,
he's going off
still
the
had
grid.
The explosive on him.
He
so
did,
why not just blow him up?
He like wrapped a thing in it so they can't track him anymore or whatever.
Who knows?
He does some kind of spy. I also love massive Stone Cold Steve Austin shimmying across that little wire. Oh yeah, like that's gonna hold him.
And that it was like raining at night. I'm like, is a T-Rex gonna show up? Because this looks a lot like the Jurassic Island.
It does have that. The other thing they definitely want us to think, and I saw several people mention this when I was going through user reviews. He's definitely supposed to be a Rambo type, right? And once he's going through
100%.
Once he's going through the jungle and stuff, and it's raining, that kind of stuff is very. I mean, literally, one of the reviews is "Move over, Rambo. Jack Conrad's in town."
No, absolutely not.
Nope, because I think following this movie, 2 more Rambo movies came out after it. So,
yeah. Well, there's a second Condemned movie, John.
Yeah, it doesn't have Jack Conrad in it, unfortunately, though.
Oh, but he's so likable, John.
Yeah. And once again, I'm not going to read this review, but I'll just say that it does say, there's somebody who goes, if you like reading Jane Austen novels and sunsets and walks along the beach, then this movie isn't for you. That person also insanely says it's better than Van Damme's Hard Target. This movie is nowhere close to Hard Target, which is an amazing movie.
Yeah.
John
Woo, this director.
So
what is the plot of the second Condemned movie? Now I'm
curious. I think it's the same thing, just happens to another guy. If I'm not
it's not even because it's not the same guy because the producer dies.
Yeah. Let me see. And I think now Eric Roberts is running the thing here. Let me see here. Let me go to this plot here. Condemned 2. Similar to the first movie, the protagonist finds himself in a game of death with several other contestants and is forced to rely on his skills and wit to survive. Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't seem to be.
It's just the same movie. Okay.
Yeah. It's just the same movie with a different guy and less money.
God.
Wait. That's a video game. No, we do not need to talk about that at all. There's no reason to. Okay, wait. Here we go. Yep. A former bounty hunter finds himself on the run as part of a revamped Condemned tournament in which convicts are forced to. Yeah. So once again, he doesn't need to be. He shouldn't be there, but he is, and he's gonna cause trouble. In that movie, do I have I have to imagine the budget is probably not even $10 million. It's probably less than half of what this thing cost.
7.5 million probably is what
but it is written by the guy who wrote The Marine, so there you go. Because it does seem like some people just
love the script of the. So.
We specifically said this script.
This script pops,
it really does. It just dialogue crackles, man. It just really
it snap crackles and pops.
It really does. All right, so let's talk about the end of the movie where Vinnie Jones comes in and just starts executing everyone that's in the.
Who could have seen this coming?
Vinnie Jones gets his hands on a machine gun because he kills some of the camera crew and they have guns. That was a weird.
It's
moment.
also stupid that there's a camera crew like going around on the island. With
All of a
machine guns.
sudden, there's a camera crew because previously we only saw that the cameras were automated and run by remote. Then all of a sudden, there's a camera guy, and there's a camera guy, and then a guy with a machine gun with him.
Yes,
as his like protection. But then why doesn't the machine gun guy just kill Vinnie Jones the second he sees him? Turn at them.
Great question, John. Great
Insane.
Question. Well, they have to be impartial. You know,
Just
they
so
have to.
Oh,
like
I do.
nature.
Trivia on this movie. When Vinnie Jones grabs the machine gun, he says "Merry Christmas," and according to the trivia, that is a Die Hard reference. And I'm like, is it?
Sure, I guess.
Because it's the same. It's also an MP5, which is the same machine gun Bruce Willis has in that.
But it's also not Christmas. In
No,
this movie.
and he's getting a weapon. You wouldn't. I didn't think Die Hard at all. You know what I mean?
Well, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, John, I would say the last 45 minutes of this movie, I was maybe half attention to. It had 50 attention. And I know I need to watch these for the podcast, but sometimes these movies are just so hard to watch, and I can't blame myself.
Yeah.
Blame the here.
It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
There's no question. It's bad. But it's just so he has the machine gun, so he comes in and starts shooting everybody, and then before he can shoot, the pretty blonde producer Stone Cold shows up, and and Vinnie Jones immediately runs in. It's like, it's not my fault, all right. I was raised by a bad mother, and such like that, right? He talks about I was beaten as a child and put into, and then Stone Cold Steve Austin hits him with what I think is the one-liner of the movie. Sounds like you had a hard life. Bam, 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 bam. Good thing it's over. That's actually not bad.
It's not bad, yeah.
Once again, I'm going like, more of that movie. That tone, we like. But he just shoots him like 8 times. He just like empties a gun into him, which I don't mind. If the movie had been better structured, if the whole thing had been building, I think they want this to play like an Indiana Jones moment when it's supposed to be a big throwdown and he just shoots him. Mm-hmm. That can work, but the movie's just like, at this point. And then what we have to get to, because we're going to talk about guns in a second here. When he's dual wielding MP5s and shooting at this helicopter,
oh my God,
that doesn't work.
No.
At
it doesn't
all.
make any
Those
goddamn
things
sense.
would be up over his head.
Yeah, those guns are not accurate.
They're not, because here's the thing about automatic weapons. When you shoot a gun, it kicks back, right? So if a gun keeps firing, it's going to keep kicking back up and up and up. That's why you need the second hand to pull the gun down against its instincts to go up. You're trying to balance out the physics of that, and that's why professional soldiers and such like that don't put guns on auto fire like that.
Yeah, because you can't aim properly. It doesn't. Doesn't make any.
He's holding
sense.
2. So he's one hand in each one, and just and actually it doesn't do anything.
There's not even any kickback.
No. Oh no, because know they've loaded these things up with whatever. Because you can blanks on movies. You can put different sizes of loads in there that will give it different kit. I remember Joe Pesci talking about on Goodfellas the scene when he shoots his gun. He wanted full loaded blank so that the gun, his 45, has the proper kick, and you see his hand come back, and he goes, I want that in there because it needs to be, I'm an out of control guy who's shooting this gun wildly. And I'm like, yes, good, that's smart. Here though, they clearly have put in the lowest possible load, because I don't think we're yet at the point of CGI muzzle flash. I think they are using blanks here, but Stone Cold is just, but it doesn't matter because he doesn't actually. It doesn't matter because I don't understand how this works. Suddenly they have one of the explosives in their hand.
I wasn't able to figure out where that came.
I think the producer woman is somehow able to get it off of Stone Cold Steve Austin. She must have a key for it or something.
Yeah, but they don't show that, so it's all implied.
And then
off camera,
she pulls the pin on it, hands it to Stone Cold, who throws it into the producer guy's helicopter.
Perfectly. It lands in the seat next to him.
Well, also Delta Force, but also Major League Pitcher. Is the other
Yeah,
thing.
well, yeah. They
I
don't
did-
get into that backstory. It was cut. The movie was originally...
I did also.
and there is an
I did also briefly. I was briefly a closing pitcher for the New York Yankees, but that's
yes,
neither
yeah.
part of it. Yeah,
There is an entire 45 minutes
yeah.
cut out of him just playing a game of baseball.
God damn,
but they-
Vince,
they cut that out.
why'd you cut that out? I did all that training for the baseball scenes. And so yeah, the guy's like, oh no, and he blows up, and the helicopter crashes. And then the movie just ends with him coming home to his family, and he's like, I'm back.
Now he did he was in prison for a reason, and he did also kill a bunch of
But the guy,
on camera.
it's all that FBI agent character going like, don't we owe it to this guy? And actually, according to the Wikipedia plot description, I don't remember this being the case, that the movie states this, but because they think he died in that explosion with dreads, he is effectively dead according to the camera that they have, because all the stuff he does after this is not on camera.
I guess that's true, but yeah, they don't mention that
They don't.
in the film at all.
They don't.
Which
That's-
that would make sense.
So it
That
is
would
like
actually
it
make
is
sense.
like he died, okay, and that's going to get everybody off his back, and now he can disappear with his family. Yeah, that actually
Right,
would
it's
make
such
some
an afterthought.
some form of sense, but no, it's just oh my god,
Yeah,
that's the end of
it's
the
just
movie.
retconning it after the fact.
This movie's terrible.
Sucks. I
Do we
hate
even
this
need
movie.
to? I think we already know the one-liner in Death anyway. We mentioned him earlier. Let's just move.
Yeah,
on.
let's not talk about it.
Let's
Yeah.
just fucking move on. Well, how about let's talk to somebody who did like this movie, or talk about somebody who did.
Sure.
This this review comes to us from IMDb user Chevy Man Greg 1989. He's a Chevy man. Yeah.
This sounds right. And 1989, maybe the year that his made it.
Yeah. Interesting though. Listen to this. So the review is titled "Pseudo Public Broadcast Survival of the Fittest." Not being that big a fan of the WWE, I thought this movie was extremely good. While holding true to some movie cliches, the fact of the movie was that violence sells, but you get what you have coming for you. You want violence, you get violence. The people talking about gore in this movie need to see 300 or Dawn of the Dead. Those are gory. This doesn't show anyone being raped, being burned, having their throat slit, or shot in the face. It does. It just doesn't
Some
show
of those
it,
are
I think.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This movie had me on the edge of my seats most of the time. Now, that means he's sitting across multiple seats, apparently, and wanting to see more the whole time. Steve Austin is as on-screen best in this movie. Great cinematography. I enjoyed it. Go see it. Whether you like it or not, it will be worth it. 10 out of 10 stars.
Now let's focus on the fact that he's sitting on multiple same time.
So,
watching this movie.
do you
I think we need to dig in.
So he's in a movie theater, I imagine, and I have to imagine in this situation, it's one of those where the armrests lift up, and he's now sprawled across multiple seats. Right? That's what's happening.
Definitely. Is he laying down on like 4 seats? You think?
Yeah, I think he's basically
Like lounging.
He's basically built a couch for himself.
Which makes sense because nobody else was in the theater.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was attending a lone midday screening of of The Condemned.
Because he had plenty of time since his wife took everything, except for his Chevy.
Yeah,
except for his Chevy.
I'll never let that bitch get my Chevy. I'll tell you what.
My '89 Chevy?
Yeah.
Hell no.
I don't think so. But I'm not a big WWE fan, but maybe I am now after I saw this.
Yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah, so that's that. Let's check in with our old friend Bruce over at Amazon.com. And once again, I have a Bruce review of a recent release. Because I don't have this movie. So, but it's time once again for everybody's favorite segment, The Winning Opinion. Okay, so this is Bruce's review of the Blumhouse horror film, The Black Phone. Do you know The Black Phone, Lisman? This is one of my favorite movies.
Aware.
One of my favorite
I remember
movies
it
from
coming
last
out.
year. Really, really good movie. Scott Derrickson, director of Doctor Strange, based on a Joe Hill short story. Really cool, creepy, interesting movie. Here's Bruce's review. Now, like I said, it's a really interesting movie that deals in like trauma and how that affects people and overcoming that and overcoming your fears and things like that. Here's Bruce's review. It is titled Children Punching and Kicking. I could leave it there, honestly. That would be enough. Once again, this is a very thoughtful film about childhood trauma. It's children punching and kicking. I never imagined a 13-year-old resolving an issue like this. I was going to finish Jack Ryan Season 3, but this was in the top box. Amazon Prime Video seems to know what I like. 5 out of 5 stars. So Bruce is really focused on the couple instances in the movie of physical violence and totally ignored all of the psychological implications and deep character work in the film. All of that goes out the window. It does have a child punching and kicking in a couple
the child
scenes.
is punching and kicking, not getting punched and kicked.
Well, it's both.
It's both.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
An abused child is going to fight back is where the violence has sort of been here.
Okay, gotcha.
It's not an action movie, though. It really is a psychological horror film that, once again, is dealing in very dark, emotional subject matter. And Bruce is just
through
like...
the lens of Bruce winning, it seems like it's just a punching and kicking vehicle.
I liked when... And I do also love the note about, I mean, and look, this is not an insult because I blazed through season 3 of Jack Ryan, but like, of course, that's what Bruce would be watching is the action-packed spy show.
Either Jack Ryan or
Reacher or Bosch.
Reacher is the other one I was going to
Bosch,
say. Yeah,
all of those I think he does watch, which I watch.
All those dad shows.
Yeah, I watch all those too, but I have a feeling that's all Bruce is watching. You know, I mean, Bruce is. I don't know. Have we read any of Bruce's reviews of The Wire? Because he reviewed every season of The Wire, and he's really into the shooting on that show. And you're like, I guess there's some shooting.
Bruce, you're missing.
Yeah, but you're kind
of
missing
95% of the content, right?
Yeah, it's exactly that where you're going like, Bruce, you're completely missing why it's the best show until he just goes, I like when the police shoot their guns, and you're like, well. That does happen sometimes, and actually sometimes it's devastating when that happens. It's not the violence on that show is far from fun or actiony, but but Bruce is just going bang bang, pow pow, love it. Well, listen, let's say you and I come up with our take on what a Condemned sequel would be, or not even. I mean, it doesn't, and ours will be a new Jack Conrad adventure. It doesn't have to have the Condemned plot specifically. I think it's just where does Jack Conrad go from this? So it will be still we're still going to generate. We're going to fire up our handy dandy action movie title generator, and still call it the Condemned : Ooh, this is interesting, Lissman. Design of the End.
Design of the End. Okay.
Design of the that's kind of an interesting title.
Design of
the End.
Is this it's another reality TV show?
Yeah.
Right. So we're taking that very basic Condemned.
What if we took sort of the idea you pitched a little bit earlier, and this time the government has discovered somebody is getting the Condemned up and running, and this time they send Jack Conrad in since he took down.
Yeah.
He's gone away with his family. He's trying to put it all behind him.
What about this? Can I pitch you something that might be a little out of left field?
Dude, I don't think there is out of left field on this.
Design. It's called the Condemned : Design of the End.
Yes. What was that? What did I say?
So,
Design of the End. Yeah.
Design. So it starts off where you assume that they're just trying to get the original show back on the air. They're trying to get it started. But then you start to realize, maybe there's something. Maybe this producer he's trying to one up the previous thing, and make the ultimate reality TV show, which is designing a show that will inevitably end civilization as well.
Ooh.
That's right. A reality TV show about the end of civilization. Human beings will watch their own destruction because they're so enamored by
I'm
reality
on board
television.
with this. I'm on board with this.
Yeah.
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 So it's also, and I think the one thing we will borrow from The Real Condemned too, that producers are Roberts.
Absolutely. Yes. We need Eric Roberts to end the movie, or end the world.
I think I want to posit, Listman, for this year on the Action Shelf, every movie has to have Eric Roberts in it.
We could easily do that.
We have to find. He doesn't have to have a big part. We have to, and for each one of these, we do have to come up with who Eric Roberts will be playing.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
And
yeah, because we need to eventually pitch a movie that Eric Roberts will be in.
Yeah,
and then actually make.
Here's
that
the
movie.
other thing I'll say: they have found a way to resurrect Vinnie Jones. He's back.
Of course,
he's back.
Yes,
but he's now like part robot. He's like he's got cyborg parts in him.
Or his brain is in a machine.
There it is. Ooh, you do a RoboCop 2 thing where they put the bad guy's brain in like a RoboCop body. We've built the perfect killing machine with the mind of the greatest psychopath this world's ever known, McStarley. That's right, I'm back. It's like an Arnim Zola from Marvel thing where it's a robot with a TV screen of Vinnie Jones's face in its chest.
Yes, yes, absolutely. This sounds great.
There you go, folks. That's the Condemned design of the end coming to a red box near you. All right, Listman, next week we're going to wrap up our WWE month here for January with our bookend. As we talk about, we're bookending this with two Cena movies here. So we did
back
the Marine...
into the capable hands of John Cena.
Well, and also, as I said, fitting that this is also the end of theatrically released WWE movies. This is the one. I think the Condemned... was the fatal blow, but this is the one that will end it. It's still living. This is the death rattle, though.
This is the closing of the casket.
Is a movie called 12 Rounds, which I gotta say, in terms of titles, is the most WWE title.
It is
12.
Yeah. Do they mean bullets or do they mean rounds of a wrestling tournament?
Well, we'll have to find out, won't we? Next week when we watch that. Now, listen, I don't have a tagline for this movie, but I am still going to read you what's on the poster because this one, I think this time, once again, we've seen not a lot of these movies have been super successful. So this time they're going to try to get people into the theater with the credentials of those involved in making this.
Great.
So 12 Rounds promises us John Cena, 12 Rounds. From the director of from the director of Die Hard 2, and the producer of Speed. Now, the thing that's always fun about producers is like 1 million people produce big studio movies, so the producer of Speed is pretty funny to me because
anytime they're trying to tout like this is the producer from something, it's like, does anybody actually care? That this is from the producer of Speed?
From the director of something, from the writer of something, sure. But people, because I'm looking at, Mark Gordon. I do know him. But the other thing that's funny about that is this is a Fox movie. And I think Mark Gordon just produced like all the Fox. Like he was just like one of the Fox people. So if you were like a Fox action movie, he produced your movie. So it's just sort of one of those things where you go, and he's one of 5 listed producers on the movie. So what does that even mean? I don't know. Who knows what notes he gave on Speed? Who knows what notes he gave on this? Or if he was just like, fine. Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about 12 Rounds next week. I've never seen this movie. I remember the trailer. I am excited to talk about Rennie Harlan, who is that director, because, he's an Action Shelf director and a half, my friend. So we'll talk about that next week on the show. It is available on HBO Max as of the recording of this, so people can watch it, and we can watch it too. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of The Action Shelf. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Michael Listman.
Till next week, get yourself some action.
The Action Shelf. The Action Shelf.